Ladies and gentlemen, this is breaking news. In this video, I'm going to show you the details of the Small Business Administration's Office of Inspector General's report finding that the SBA disbursed hundreds of millions of dollars in fraudulent economic injury disaster loans and its advances. And watch this video until the end, because I'm going to show you how the Small Business Administration plans to modify its procedures and protocols to process existing and new applications of economic injury disaster loans and advances through bills such as S.4135, the HEAL Act. That's HEAL, not the plural version, sponsored by Republican from Pennsylvania, Pat Toomey, and our all-time favorite S.4227, the Ensuring Increased Disaster Loan for Small Businesses Act. So the report starts off with the memo that reads that the financial institutions, credit unions, nationwide banks, fintech organizations, etc., basically have complained to the Small Business Administration of 5,000 instances of suspected fraudulent deposits of economic injury disaster loans and its advances. Ladies and gentlemen, 3,880 of these instances only came from only 6 financial institutions. The rest came from several other financial institutions. Other financial institutions reported a dollar amount of suspected transactions as opposed to the number of instances. That amounted to $187.3 million in suspected fraudulent deposits of economic injury disaster loans. By May 19th, 2020, financial institutions filed hotline complaints, 465 hotline complaints with the SBA. That number increased to 1,038 by June 26, 2020. 692 of those hotline complaints came from potential scams, such as people applying with other people's social security numbers that had no business or did not file for an economic injury disaster loans. So the OIG actually found that the SBA was performing credit inquiries, yanking reports of people that never applied for economic injury disaster loan. There was other people that were applying not on behalf of other people. They're just using their social security number in order to apply and try to get the money. In light that there's still $222.8 billion left to lend to the economic injury disaster loan program, as I said, stick with me until the end, because I'm going to show you how the OIG recommends that the SBA modify its procedures and protocols that they've offloaded out to RER Solutions, the Virginia-based government contract agency, for $500 million, and they offloaded the work to Quicken Loans. Dan Gilbert, the owner of Quicken Loans, he donated $750,000 to the Donald Trump presidential inauguration, and he got the deal. The OIG also identified that the SBA disbursed $250 million to ineligible applicants. Remember, in order to qualify for the economic injury disaster loan and its advance, your business had to be in operation. You had to have a business first off. You're going to find that there, in this report, you're going to see that there are people that have no business applying for this thing. And the SBA disbursed $250 million to ineligible applicants of the economic injury disaster loan and its advances. The agency has approved $45.6 million to duplicate applications, due to duplicate applications. Out of the $45.6 million, already disbursed $30 million, ladies and gentlemen. So that's a synopsis of the report. I'm going to get into the key details of the report right now, so you could see exactly what's been going on and what's potentially been holding up your application as well, because if they're busy processing all of these fraudulent applications, of course they can't get to everybody. People who have legitimate businesses that offer useful products and services to the American people. All right, so the report starts off with the background. You know the background already, that the EIDL, pursuant to the CARES Act, they allocated billions of dollars towards the program. All right, so take a look of the examples of suspicious activities and suspected fraud that financial institutions have been reporting. 440 financial institutions ranging from small local credit unions to major national institutions have contacted us to express serious concerns. Here are some examples. Accounts established using stolen identities. People are stealing other people's identities and applying for economic injury disaster loans and grants. Account holders unable to explain origins of deposits or identify business names on loans. Account holders claiming to use funds to open a business. You should have had a business already in operation. You're not supposed to use these funds to open a business. Account holders attempting to transfer funds into investments accounts. Account holders attempting to transfer funds to foreign accounts. So potentially for acts of terror or something against this country. Or you don't know what they're doing. I mean, they just want to hide the money overseas. Loan deposits being made into accounts with no other account activity that were established remotely just before receiving the loan funds. Some people are opening accounts online and have all types of suspected fraudulent activity associated with the account or have no activity whatsoever. Economic injury loan funds made to agricultural businesses being deposited in accounts of unrelated third parties located in different states than the business. I read a report where an applicant stated that they had an agricultural business, they're raising crops in an apartment building. Account holders attempting to withdraw loan funds in cash or transfer the funds to other newly established accounts. Economic injury loans or advance grants being deposited into personal accounts with no evidence of business activity of customers of the financial institution. I get numerous complaints and reports of banks rejecting deposits into personal accounts, which is why I have said in several previous videos, ensure you have a business account. If you are a veteran, you can get a free business account at JP Morgan Chase, ladies and gentlemen. So get a business account at a financial institution that has a brick and mortar presence, nationally recognized financial institutions. Some people have reported success with receiving their grants and their loans through Cash App and other fintech organizations. Nonetheless, the people that I've found that had the most success, you've vastly increased the chance or decrease the chance that your bank will reject the deposit coming from the Small Business Administration if you are with a traditional mainstream bank with a brick and mortar presence, ladies and gentlemen. So just ensure that you have it, because that's probably the most widespread complaint that I get from people. And it takes several weeks for the SBA to reverse that. So if you have the correct information, let's say you went ahead and opened the bank account and you have to give a business bank account, and you have to give the routing number and account number to the Small Business Administration. It takes a couple of weeks for them to basically receive the funds that the bank rejected, and then it takes a couple of more weeks for them to disburse those funds into the new account that you provided. And then, of course, you got to wait for hours in order to get in touch with somebody so they could do that for you. So it's a big problem. The next paragraph, basically, it just goes into detail in regards to $187.3 million suspected fraudulent transactions. These are reports that are coming from financial institutions that reported a dollar amount in suspected transactions, opposed to the instances of suspected transactions. Here are examples. A London-based international money transfer business claims to have identified $1.9 million in pending SBA deposits being made to accounts to be transferred internationally. The financial institution is seeking to have SBA blacklist these account numbers to prevent future deposits and is working to identify payouts already made. A banking service provider reports it has identified $73 million in SBA deposits from approximately 300 transactions as being suspicious. The provider estimates it receives 300 deposits per day. A federal credit union reported to the criminal division of the Department of Justice that it has received $15 million in SBA deposits in recent weeks. The credit union audited 60 of the transactions and determined that 59 appeared to be fraudulent. We are alarmed by these reports, okay? Fraud schemes on social media. You're going to want to pay attention to this one, because I actually called out a user of this platform posting videos recommending that people apply for the economic injury disaster loan when it was closed off to most businesses, when it was only open to agricultural businesses. And they were recommending for people to go ahead and apply. So you want to follow the rules, ladies and gentlemen, especially when it comes down with working with the federal government. OIG's division, in conjunction with investigative partners. All right, so these are the people that, all right, so This is the gist of the scams. Various romance scams and social media solicitations persuade people to provide personally identifiable information to get free money. The information is then used to apply for SBA economic injury loans, and portions of the proceeds to go to the ringleader. Another scheme has companies advertising their ability to secure SBA money for clients to start businesses, then using respondents' information to apply for SBA economic injury loans. Online videos on social media are readily available to instruct potential applicants how to answer certain questions to falsely obtain economic injury loan money. In none of my videos I tell you to respond falsely to anything that the Small Business Administration is asking you via phone, email, or any applications. If anyone is telling you to falsely claim that you have more employees that you have, or anything that is not the truth, do not follow those instructions. You do not want to mess with the federal government in this particular, in no case whatsoever. And look at this, various romance scams. So I guess there are people on social media that are actually requesting personal information from people who want this money, and then that person applies on everybody's behalf, and then that person gets all the revenue. I don't know if he splits it with everybody that pitched in with their social security numbers. It's crazy. During initial investigation into some of the theft complaints, OIG's criminal investigators have found that some IP addresses used to apply for SBA assistance using stolen identities were also used in applications for numerous other economic injury loans. So they do it several times with the same information. Our ongoing evaluation has revealed SBA has approved more than $250 million in COVID-19 economic injury loans and advanced grants to potentially ineligible businesses as of June 19, 2020. As of June 6, 2020, SBA had made duplicate economic injury loans to nearly 300 businesses, ladies and gentlemen. We found SBA issues 6,132 economic injury loans and 20,692 advanced grants to potentially ineligible businesses. Let me just repeat that. That's my alarm for my keto bread. It'll survive though, it won't burn. We found SBA issued 6,132 economic injury loans and 20,692 advanced grants to potentially ineligible businesses. Under the CARES Act, applicants must have been in business on January 31st, 2020 to be eligible for economic injury loans or advanced grants. And this is the way that they found out. They cross-referenced a database of employer identification number registrations between January 1st, 2020 and June 15, 2020, and matched them to data in SBA's contractors database, RER Solutions and Quicken Loans in them, approved as of June 19, 2020. To determine whether SBA was properly lending to businesses that existed on January 31st, we extracted all loan applications from companies whose identification numbers were registered before January 31st. And they removed all sole proprietorships, because sole proprietorships can still apply. The remaining 68,257 loan applicants had registered their businesses after January 31st and were consequently ineligible for economic injury loans or grants. However, SBA approved 6,132 loans totaling $208.1 million to the ineligible businesses. An additional 20,692 applicants received advanced grants totaling $47.8 million, ladies and gentlemen. And a number of you applied and requested the $10,000 grant, up to $10,000, with the little checkbox on the bottom. And prior to the cutoff date, prior to Javita Carranza announcing the conclusion, and you still haven't received it. Due to things like this, due to these kinds of issues where people are applying for the economic injury disaster loan without being eligible or fraudulently doing so. We also found duplicate loans. We also found that SBA paid out hundreds of duplicate loan disbursements to businesses. In total, SBA is approved and paid at least 275 loans more than one time. To date, approximately $35 million of the $45.6 million in approved duplicate loans has been disbursed. We verified the duplicate approved loans were made to the same businesses at the same address. The majority of the duplicate loans were approved twice. However, of the 275 duplicates we found, one business was approved 4 times and received 4 loans. 6 businesses were each approved for 3 loans. The remaining 268 businesses were each approved for 2 loans. We believe the duplicate payments or loan approvals were made to applicants who applied more than once for assistance. SBA processed the multiple applications submitted because the agency does not have effective controls in place to determine if the applicants had previously applied and received financial help. Now, here's the conclusion. It basically summarizes everything they're talking about, and this is what you want to pay attention to, ladies and gentlemen. Suggested actions for SBA, how the Small Business Administration plans to modify its procedures and processing protocols for existing economic injury disaster loan applications and future economic injury disaster loan applications and EIDL grants. To address serious problems and deficiencies in internal controls of the economic injury loan program for COVID-19 pandemic relief, we suggest the administrator assess vulnerabilities for the purpose of strengthening or implementing internal controls to address notices of potential fraud, create an effective process and method for lenders to report suspected fraud to the Office of Disaster Assistance and to recover funds. So, the Office of Inspector General at the Small Business Administration wants the SBA to basically enhance its procedures to identify suspected fraud, to work more closely with financial institutions to try to get them to reverse funds that they suspect is being fraudulent. So they want to work closely in order to correct this. So let me know what you think. Drop your comments in the comment section below. Watch this video right here for continued economic injury disaster loan and stimulus coverage. Click the like button if you like the video. Click the subscribe button to stay on top of my findings. Again, I will stop at nothing until each and every one of you is funded with everything for which you are eligible, including economic injury disaster loan advances through S.4227 or S.4135, ladies and gentlemen. May God bless each and every one of you. May God bless the United States of America and everybody else on this planet. Talk soon.